Always good to talk to the position coaches. They don't talk to the media very often, so they tend to tell you good stuff and tend to be really interesting. And that was the case with Charlie Partridge. Talk to him, the new D-line coach. What are the challenges? How do you get the job? All of that stuff. Kind of a get to know Charlie Partridge few minutes and get to know what he thinks about his defensive line, which has got to be one of the strengths of the team. If it's not, you got trouble. What do you do that's different? Like, people speak very highly of you as a defensive line coach. What's a special sauce that makes you different?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer because, you don't...
That's for other people to say.
It is. I think one of the things when I look at periods of growth in my career, I leaned in on players. They're playing the game. And I can, from things I learned from JJ and Jalen Twyman and Pat Jones and Weaver and Cansey, and I did everything I could to learn from them and make it a partnership. And I always said, when I got a chance to coach really high-level players, and I'm talking high-level commitment in the classroom, high-level commitment to their technique growth, I grew along with them, and now I'm walking into a room full of professionals in a really good room, so we're all growing together, and I don't know if that's the secret sauce, but I can tell you if I point to certain moments where I changed how I did things, oftentimes it was because of the influence of a player.
Okay, so it's more important to you to do what the player needs than for the player to do what you need?
It's a partnership. It's a true partnership, because at the end of the day, we're all within a scheme, and we all have our 1/11th, our one piece of the pie to do. But there is, I think if you have a bunch of robots out there that are doing it exactly how Coach told me, it's going to be hard to produce and hard to make plays and hard to make a difference. I once heard someone give a conversation about what are your rights and your lefts, what are your parameters, what are your guardrails. Okay, this is what we need you to do. This is how I've always coached it, and this is what I believe in. But I saw this came up with Buck about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Okay, Buck, you're doing your job, but I saw you stepped like this. Why? And he gave me a great explanation of what he saw. His knowledge is so strong and why he did it. And I went, okay, that's really good. And that's something that I'll add into my coaching repertoire moving forward. And like you said, I've been doing this a long time, so those moments are fewer and further between, but it's cool walking into this room because this is a really cerebral, intelligent group, and I'm getting a lot of those moments already in a month and a half.
How much film work do you do on the front end before you get the job? Mm-hmm. You do a lot of film work then before you meet the guys and work with them?
A lot, yeah. And I mean, when I first got in, a little bit of drinking through a fire hose, right? Evaluate these free agents, evaluate these potential draft picks. Here's your playbook, figure it out. And, oh, by the way, let's evaluate the players we have so that we know good free agent and draft decisions to make. So it did all tie together. As you're trying to prepare for the draft and for potential free agents, you have to have at least a feel on film of what your personnel is like. So yeah, that kind of all happened together coming at me fast when I first got here.
Let me ask you a question without an answer, and I'm acknowledging that up front. Would you rather have a guy, is Latu special because of his energy, or is he special because of his athleticism? Which is he more? Like, the energy seems completely unique to me, but the physical traits seem equally unique.
I think it's a combination of both. I think anytime if you've met someone that has had something taken from them and then they get a second chance, they operate a little different, right? And you feel that in his approach, and then you combine that with some of his natural gifts and his ability to bend, and I mean bend from head to toe. His ability to turn his shoulders and his hips and reduce surface area in close proximity is unique. You combine that with, like I said, that second chance mentality. It's fun to see where he's going to go.
He seems to be able to get really low too, getting the edge. I mean, that's kind of a Mathis type trait that's really unique.
Yeah, his hip flexion, his ankle flexion, and his awareness of level changes and where the quarterback sets up, and assuming he's going against an offensive tackle, when a tackle turns his shoulders, okay, I'm down to this choice and this choice. He's got good awareness of that at this point. I'm anxious to see it all come together in pads come August.
What do you see in Quiddy?
Quiddy has really elevated some things that he wanted to work on this camp. That's the fun thing about this group. They all want to know what to work on, how to work on it, and across the board. Tommy's done some things. I know you didn't ask about Tommy, but Tommy came in and there was a very specific set of things we need to work on. I'm proud of him because that's now showing up and it doesn't always just come like this. Sometimes it takes a little time. So there's an example. Quiddy was working on some things with his pass rush and the timing of that, and you're seeing those things. He's been a good against the run, I think, up to that point. Still looks like he will be. Pads will tell the true story.
Yeah.
But he's pass rushing with different elements now.
Does it help to have a couple of tackles who seem to know exactly what they're doing, and like DeForest and Grove have been here for a while?
Yeah, those guys give everybody confidence, and Taven has had a really good spring.
Has he?
So you're talking about, he really has. He's showing some pass rush stuff, and he's always been strong against the run. So excited about him, and Raekwon has been a nice addition. And I talked about the growth of Tommy, so it's a good group.
How'd this job come about for you?
Well, I had some initial contact with Chris Ballard a couple years ago. Loyalty to where I was, combined with timing of family, it wasn't the right time. But I was intrigued, and at that point, I wasn't offered anything. It was, would you be interested? And what initially was yes became quickly a no, just because of life and timing. I was reached out by a staff member here during the off season in recruiting in January. And the question was posed, would you be interested? And the answer was yes. My older daughter's a senior, and I felt like 7 years at Pitt, second time, had been loyal. I think I tried to do everything I could to help that program, and it was time for this challenge.
How instrumental were you in drafting Gonsalves? They had to rely on you, some kind of perspective you brought.
To a degree. What I've really learned about the draft process is there's a lot of slices of the pie in that decision, and just my firsthand awareness of how we operated every day. I certainly was asked about that, but they made the talent evaluation.
That's Charlie Partridge, and what you find in a good leader is the good leader finds what motivates his charges, finds what their talents are, and puts them in a position to exploit the virtues of those challenges. That seems like what Charlie Partridge is ready to do, what he's doing right now, and what is going to benefit the Colts moving forward with him as a D-line coach.